Hi Intermediate, welcome back. We had started finding equation of a line. I had done this first example with you where I showed you step 1 was to find the slope and step 2 was to create the line. I'm going to just do one more like that and then we will do some more varieties. Okay, so again, step 1 is to find the slope. Okay, so for this example, the slope is -1/2. Step 2 then is to create the equation of a line. My m, as we said, was -1/2. Now I just have to find the b. Either of these points are fine. This one's probably easier to use, so I'll pick that. Okay, so here's the final answer. Just make sure at the end you actually put the final answer. Some people just like find M and B and they stop there. Like make sure M and B both go into the final answer. So this is the line that goes through these 2 points. So when I draw this line, it's going to have those 2 points that we started with are going to be in it. So we basically found a line that goes through those 2 points. That's the idea. All right, let's try some other stuff that's like slightly different than that. All right, so now some of the stuff is just going to be looking at the same question, but maybe like different scenarios, and you sort of got to creatively figure out what to do. So this one isn't terrible because they've actually already done a step here. They've already saved us some work. They're telling us what the slope is. They're not making us do the slope. So that one's pretty awesome. We've already started with the slope, and now we just need to find the b. So we'll use this. And again, you want to write your final answer at the end, okay? We're looking actually for the equation of a line, so make sure at the very end you do that. Okay, this one, horizontal line containing 3, 5. For a horizontal line, you do not use this equation. You have to think about the other equations I gave you. Horizontal line's a real specific one. Do you remember which one it is? Good, I hope you remember that it's this one. So for the horizontal line, it's y equals the y value. So if I have the point 3, 5, if I have the point 3, 5, and I want a horizontal line through it, that means that all these points have to be at a height of 5. That means that y always has to be 5. That's what will make a horizontal line. So that is the answer. You have to be really careful. These vertical and horizontal lines have real specific equations. They don't apply to the general equation. It's this for horizontal, it's this for vertical. So for a horizontal, y equals the y value. For vertical, x equals the x value. All right, let's see what else I got going on. All right. Let's go over slope in terms of parallel and perpendicular lines. Parallel lines have the same slope, and perpendicular lines have blank and blank in terms of the slope. You know this one? This one's a little more tricky. It has its reciprocal and opposite sign for the slope. All right, let's go over that real quick to make sure we got that. So if my first I'll give examples for both. So if my first line has a slope of a 2, my parallel line, you know, I'm actually going to use the, if my first, let's just pretend there's nothing there. If my first line has a slope of a 3, then my parallel, this is actually the symbol for parallel when they're two lines right next to each other. If you're going into any kind of STEM, you might want to just watch my symbology. All right, so if we start with a 3, a parallel line would also be a 3 because they're going to have the same slope. They're going to have the same tilt. What's going to be different about them is that their y-intercept is going to be different. Their y-intercept is going to be different, but the tilt, we're saying that the tilt has to be the same. Whereas if it's perpendicular, you have to do two things, and this is a symbol for perpendicular. Again, if you're going into STEM, it looks like an upside down T. What you're showing, it has a right angle. So it's this shape. All right. So so for perpendicular, I'm going to put this over 1, so it's a fraction. You have to flip it, and since it started as positive, I have to make it negative. So perpendicular of 3 is negative 1/3. All right, let's use this. This is a line I have, and I have this line here, and I just give you like I have some line, and what I want is I want to create a line that's perpendicular to that, so it's got to be at a right angle to it. So I want something that's a right angle to it, but it goes through the point 4, 2. Okay, that's the idea. I want something, so this line is the original, the 2x plus 5y equals 11. This is the original line. So I want to create something perpendicular to it. That means it's at right angles to it. Makes it like a T. You need like a T or an X. Let me say a T, that's right angle. And as it's going to be perpendicular to it, it also has to cross through this point, because there's actually a lot of perpendicular lines that go through this. Right, but I want the one that goes through it perpendicularly and touches 4, 2. It's got to do two things. It's got to go perpendicular and touch 4, 2. There's an infinite amount of perpendicular here. It has to do more than just perpendicular. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is, if you recall from the first page I showed you in the other video, and if I can find it real quick, I will, because some of you are very visual and you learn much faster if I can point things out. Let me see if I can. Yes, I can. Okay. You remember from the very first video, I was showing you the different forms. So they're giving the original line in what we would call, you remember this one? I don't feel like I could hear you. You were saying standard, right? They're giving it in standard. So standard and standard form, you can't see what the slope is. It's actually in slope intercept that you can see what the slope is. So what I'm saying is you want to convert the form of this line. You want to convert this form to be y equals mx plus b. So you want to convert it to be y equals mx plus b so you can see m. So let's do that. That means we have to get y by itself. We have to isolate y. So the first thing you want to do is move the 2x to the other side. I know this video is going a little long, but I'm almost done. Okay, so I'm just going to keep going. And then you're going to divide this by 5. Now this 5 belongs to both of these. This 5 belongs to both of these, okay? Now people get a little confused at this stage because all we actually want is the slope, which sits in front of the m. If you're doing a perpendicular line, we're not saying that they both have the same b. They don't. I mean, there are special cases where they do by chance, but it's just the m that you want. So this is the m of the original. It's negative 2/5. And we want to be perpendicular, okay? So we have to now figure out, well, what's perpendicular to this guy? So remember the two rules? You have to do two things, right? Do you need me to show you again, or you know it, right? See if you can do those two things. You have to make it reciprocal and opposite sign. All right, so here we go. If this guy's negative, then perpendicular has to be positive. If this guy is 2/5, then we have to be 5/2, right? So this is our slope for our line. So for our line that we're creating, we just found the M. We're now just short on the B. So now we're almost there. We have to find the B. And that is why they gave you that additional point. Because this additional point is what's going to allow you to find B. So here we go. Let me move the point down so you can all see it. It's the 0.42. So it's down here now. Okay. Okay, let's do that. Okay, so this is XY. Okay, so 2 equals to 5/2 times 4 plus B. I like to reduce first. That's just the way I roll. You could first say it's 20 over 2 and then reduce it to 10. It's just up to you. All right, so once you plug in those points for X and Y, right, the 2 and the 4, and then you solve for the B, just again at the end, please remember to write the final equation, because I'm not just asking like what B is. I want you to put like all the information you just gathered, put it all together. Okay, gang, that is the end of this section. So congratulations, you finished 4.3. I'll catch you. Bye-bye.